Hello everybody, welcome to 21st Century IAS Academy, Delhi's upscale meditational mentorship UPSC Confidence Covenant program. This is Goli Varsha. I'm sure you're taking the tests seriously and writing them consistently every single day. On this positive note, we shall see the test explanation for CSAT questions given on
Day 11. We'll get into the first question. In an election, there were three candidates A, B and C. A, B and C. Okay. 5% of the eligible voters did not vote. Oh, this happens in real-time scenario also, no? Not 100% of the eligible voters go and cast their vote. But it is a minimum responsibility to go and vote. Okay. So, you're above 18 years, so everybody will vote in the coming elections. Alright? All of you. Alright. Out of those who voted, which means only 95% of the voters voted. Okay. Out of those who voted, 50% voted for A, 20% voted for B, and the remaining 25% voted for C. Okay, which means this 95% was split like this. 50% voted for A, 20% for B, and 25% for C. Okay, this is clear, right? Now, 35% of the votes polled for A and 25% of the votes polled for B were later deemed invalid. Okay, so 35% votes polled for A are invalid. Okay, which means what is the percentage of valid votes? See, 35% of the votes cast for A were invalid, which means only 65% of the votes that were polled for A were deemed to be valid. Alright? Because 100 minus 35 is how much? 65, right? So, valid votes is 65%. Alright? And for B, 25% of the votes polled for B were later deemed invalid, which means 75% of the votes that were cast for B were valid, alright, and all the votes polled for C were deemed to be valid. Okay, so that means everything, 100% of the votes cast for C are valid. There are no invalid votes. Okay, if A got 700 more votes than valid votes than B, how many valid votes did C receive? Okay, so this is the question. We have to find out the C fellow's votes, how many valid votes he got. Okay, see, let we represent the votes. Okay, now this is, as I told you, this is a concept of percentages of percentage. Now 65% of the votes cast for A. What is the percentage of votes actually cast for A? That is 50%, right? So it will be, what is the valid votes that this fellow got? A valid votes is 65% of 50% of the total votes cast. Okay, so V. This is A fellow's thing. Now B fellow's actual valid votes is 75% of the 20% votes that were cast. Okay, so this point you have to, after practicing the same theme twice, thrice, you can write this step directly. Alright, now what are they saying? If A got more valid votes than B did, which means the difference between these two is 700. Okay, 700. Now, percentage of percentage. Don't get boggled by seeing this. Percentage of percentage, what is this? No. See, 1%, let it be like that. The other percentage, you write it by 100 or whatever you want to do, you do with that. Okay. Now, what is 50% of 65%? At first instance, it might seem tough. However, if you if you keep this percentage aside and say to yourself, what is 50% of 65? It is half, no? It is 32.5 and put this percentage symbol here. It's as simple as that. So, it is 50% of 65% is 32.5%. Okay. What is 75% of 20%? Here, you put this percentage as it is, and what is 20% of 75? Actually, you can calculate this in mind directly. See, 1% is 7.5 and 20% means it will be 15%. However, if you are not well versed with it, Do not take a chance. Write down like this, 20 by 100 into 75. Okay, now again don't cancel 25 3s are, 25 4s are. If you want you can do that, but direct multiplication would be easy here. Okay, so it is 75 2s is 150, right? 150 by 10 is 15, so it is 15%. Now 32.5 minus 15% is 700, which means 17.5% of V is 700. And what are they asking to find? How many valid votes did C receive? This C fellow received all the votes as valid votes. Not even one vote was invalid. So directly 25% of V is how much? Okay. So 25 by 17.5 into 700. Okay. If you remove the point here, it will be one more 0. 25 ones are 25, 7s are, 7 ones are 7,000. So 1000 is the answer. Okay, 1000 is the answer. Now next question. The monthly salary of a person was this much. He used to spend on 3 heads. What are those 3 heads? Personal and family expenses, taxes and education loan. Good. The rest were his savings. Okay. P was 60% of the income. Okay, so P fellow was 60% of the income, and E is 25% of P. E is 25% of P. What is 25%? 25% is 1/4, no? 1/4 of anything. 25% is how much? If you write it in fraction, 25 by 100, which is 1/4. So this conversion is also important. 50% means half, 25% means 1/4. It will be easy, okay. So what is 1/4 of 60%? It is 15%. Alright. Now, and T was 20% of E. T was 20% of E. Now, what is 20% of 15%? 20% of 15%. Okay, 1% you put it like that. Now 20% of 15 is how much? It's 3. Okay, this percentage will come here. So 60%, 3% and 15%. Now what are the savings? It will be 60 plus 15 is how much? 75. 75 plus 3 is 78. So the savings will be 100 minus 78, that is 22%. Okay, yeah. When his salary got raised by 40%, he maintained the percentage level of P. Okay, now his salary is this much, no? Now his salary increased by 40%. Now what is 40% of 1,80,000? Which means 40 by 100 into 1,80,000. Okay, this and this is gone. So 18 fours are 72, right? So 72,000. Fine. Now the total salary will be 1,80,000 plus 72,000, that is 2,52,000. This is the new salary. Okay. Okay. We'll put it aside. Now, when his salary got raised, he maintained the percentage level of P. That means now this fellow is 60% only in the new salary. But E became 30% of P. Now, what is 30% of 60%? 3 6 are 18. So, 18%. And T became 25% of E. Now, what is 25% of E? That is 1/4 of E. What is 1/4 of E? 18% by 4, which is 4.5. Okay. The sum of the two savings. Okay, now what will be the saving percentage? 78 plus 4.5. It's 82.5. So remaining is how much? 100 minus 82.5. It is 17.5%. Alright. Now he's asking sum of two savings. Okay. Now don't add the percentage and then into some number. Don't do that, because this percentage is 22% of 1,80,000. This percentage is 17.5% of 2,52,000. You getting my point, right? So 22% of 1,80,000 is how much? See, this one can be written as 11 into 2 into 1,80,000. Okay. Now, if you're multiplying it with 11, how much will you get here? You will get, see, 11 into 18 is how much? 198. Okay, 198, 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 zeros will come. Okay, into 2. Into 2 is how much? It is 200 minus 2, no? So 400 minus 4 it will become. So 396, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 22% of 1,80,000 is 396,00,00, and then divide by 100. This 2 zeros, this 2 percentage, no? So it will be 396,000. Okay. Now 17.5% of 252,000. See here, it is 17.5% of 252,000. Okay. In the previous sessions, we have already seen that percentage and 2 zeros will get cancelled, and here there's point, no? 0.5 into 10 is how much? That point and 1 0 will also go. So it is basically 175 into 252. This 175 into 252, one way is direct multiplication. The other way is 175 into 250 plus 175 into 2. This 252 I am breaking like this. Why? You will just get to know. 250 plus 2. So it will be like this. Okay. So now this 250 also I am writing it as 1000 by 4. Why? For simpler calculation, to save your time. Okay. So now 4 1s are, 4 4s are 16, 1. So 4 3s are 12. So 3 will remain. So 0.7 and then 5. Okay. Now this 175 into 2 is how much? It is 350. Okay. Now this 43.75 into 1000 is how much? 43,750 plus 350. How much will you get? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, did you understand this multiplication? Instead of 175 into 252 multiplication, I split that into this two terms, and then again I wrote 250 as 1000 by 4, so that it will be easy for calculation. Okay, so this answer is 44100, the second term. Okay, now 39600 plus 44100. Okay, 39600 plus 44100 is the required answer. Okay, 0 0. Now when you're adding, you also observe the options. Okay, 0 0 and 6 plus 1 7. 6 plus 1 7 in hundreds place, only B is there, so B is the answer. You don't need to add these two digits. Okay, so these are some techniques to save your time. Alright, so B is the answer, 83700. The population of country has been growing at a rate 6% every decade. If the projected population of the country in 2040 is given as this much, what was the population of the country in 2010? Okay, so decade means 10 years. Okay, so in 2040, the population of the country would be this much. In 2010, what was the population in retrospect? That is the question. And it is given that every decade 6% of the population is getting increased, which means if this year the population is 100, after 10 years it would be 106. Okay, and after another 10 years it would be 6% more than this number, which means 112.36. Okay, so likewise, all right. So this is similar to compound interest. Okay, if your sum is 100 and if it is compounded every 10 years, then the amount would be 106, and then again compound, then it will be 6% of this one. All right, and then it would be added to the principal. So this is similar to the compound interest concept. All right, so here every decade, it's not every year, it's every decade. So how many decades? 3 decades, no, 30 years gap, which means 3 decades. All right, now we'll use the same concept of compound interest here. All right, so there in compound interest, the formula is total is equal to principal into 1 plus rate of increase or decrease by 100 whole power n, where n is the number of increases. Okay, here it is increasing three times, no, like 6% increase one time, again next 6% increase the second time, 6% increase the third time. In 3 decades like this. The increase is as follows. Okay, so n is 3 here. You shouldn't take n is 30, n is 3 because the increase is happening every 10 years. Okay, now it will be total is how much? 6,103,957 is equal to P, that is the required population in 2010, 1 into 1 plus, what is the rate of increase? It is 6. So 6 by 100 whole power 3, because 6 is, so it is increasing by 6% 3 times after every 10th year. All right. So yeah, so this will amount to, this number will come here is equal to P into 6 by 100 is how much? 3 by 50, right? So it will become P into 53 by 50 whole cube. So 6,103,957 is equal to P into 53 into 53 into 53 by 50 into 50 into 50. Okay. So 53 is a prime number. So we have to directly, if at all, see here there are simplified answers, no? So if at all this number is getting simplified, it means it should be cancelable by 53. It should be, there's no other go. By observing the answers and observing this equation, we will come to that conclusion. So 53 ones are 53 ones are 53. So again it will become 1, 5s are, then again 1, 6, 6 are, and then 9s are. Okay. Now 53 ones, 53 twos are 106. So how many numbers are remaining? 9, 91. So again 1s are, then 7s are, 3s are. Yeah. Now 53 ones are, 53 4s are is 212, and then 5 3 again. So 53 ones are. Okay. So this is the simplified number which we got. So P would be 41 into 5 5 is 25, 25 5 are 125. So 125, 1, 2, 3. See here, 41 into 125 into 10 cube, no? Now don't do 125 into 41, no. See, split this 41 into 40 and 1. Okay, so 125 into 4 is how much? It's 500. So 125 into 40 will be 5,000 plus 125 into 1 is how much? 125 into 10 cube. So this will be 5125 into 10 cube. 5125 followed by 3 zeros. Okay, that is the answer. So instead of multiplying 41 and 125 directly, what did I do? I split this 41 into 40 plus 1. Why did I do this? For simpler calculation, because 125 into 4 is 500. Now into 10 is 5000 and 125 into 1 is 125. So I'll add them like this. Okay. So this will also increase your calculating ability, because you're doing this in your brain, no? Instead of putting that on paper and then doing it mechanically. So yeah. Next, in an election, there were only two candidates. One of the candidates secured 45% of the votes and is defeated by the other candidate by 235 votes. The total number of votes polled is, so A and B are the candidates. This fellow got 45% of the votes, which means, and they didn't mention anything about invalid votes or anything, right? So it will be 45% this fellow got. Then B would get 55%. Now they're saying that this fellow won by 235 votes, which means the difference between these two is 235, which means 55 minus 45% is how much? 10% is 235. Now total number of votes is how much? Polled is 100%, no? If 10% is 235, then 100% would be into 10. So it will be 2350. So B is the answer. Okay, there will be simple questions too. Just you have to use brain and write it without overthinking. Okay. Now, the number of girls appearing for an admission test is thrice the number of boys. Okay. 60% of the girls and 24% of the boys get admission. Now, in such questions, no, you have to assume a number, and that number should satisfy this particular equation also. So here, for calculation purposes, easy calculation, you consider these as units. See, girls and boys, no? If boys is taken as a unit, see, if the boys strength is 10, then the girl's strength would be 30. So total number of boys and girls would be 40. Why am I taking 40? So that it will be easy for me to split according to this equation. And how will I get this idea to take 40? Why can't I take 4? You can take 4 also. But again, 60% of the girls, 20. It might be a little confusing. You can take 4 also. You can take 400 also. It's your wish. But this particular number should satisfy this equation. Now, if you want to take 50 and then you will say 50 and then you will say it has to satisfy this equation, of course you can fit, but you will get in points. Again, this will be a mess. Don't take like that. The purpose of taking this, assuming this number itself, is to simplify your life. Again, why do you want to mess with it? Don't do that. Okay, so here boys is one unit, girls are the other unit. So boys, if I am taking as 10, girls would be 30. Or boys, if I take as 100, girls would be 300. And the sum would be 400. Okay, likewise, you take a number. Now I am taking it for 40. Alright. Okay, now what are they saying? 60% of the girls and 20% of the boys get admission. Okay, now what is 60% of 30? 1% and 2 zeros will go, right? So 6 3s are 18. 60% of 30 is 18. Why 1%? 2 zeros are gone. 6 3s are 18. Okay, now 20% of the boys also get admission. Now what is 20% of 10? For your understanding, I am writing this, otherwise directly you can write 2. Okay, the percentage of candidates who do not get admission. See, 18 plus 2 is how much? 20. 20 fellows got admission, which means 40 minus 20. Another 20 fellows didn't get the admission. Now he is asking the percentage. So what is the percentage? See, 20 is half of 40, no? Which means 50%. 50% fellows didn't get admission. 50% fellows got admission. You are understanding what I am trying to say? If you do not know is it 50% or is it 25%, do that by writing on the paper. 20 by 40 into 100. 2 1s are, 2 2s are, 2 1s are, 2 5s are. So it is 50%. Okay. This 50% got the admission. The other 50% didn't get the admission. Okay. Yeah. Out of the 3 annual examinations, each with a total of 600 marks, a student secured average marks of 55% and 65% in the first and second annual examinations. Good. A, B and C. Okay, first annual exam, second and third one. Okay, so this fellow secured 55% here and 65% here. Okay, to have an overall average of 70%. Okay, overall average is 70%. How many marks does the student need to secure in the third annual examination? Okay. Now, one method is the direct calculation method. Like you will calculate what is 55% of 600, 65% of 600 plus x% of 600 is equal to, then you will calculate 70% of 600 and then you will try to find out the marks. Something like that. But directly with percentages also you can do, instead of doing all that. See, what is the average of these 3 numbers? Let it be x percentage. Okay, average is how much? 55% plus 65% plus x% by 3 is equal to 70%. No, 7 percentage will go. How much is it? It is 120 plus x is equal to 210. Alright, now what is x? X is 90. Okay, so x% is 90%. Now what is 90% of 600? It is 90% of 600 means, I was directly putting the number, but for your convenience I am again writing the step. This percentage and 2 zeros will go. So it is 6 9s are 54. So 540 is the answer. Simple, na? Instead of calculating 55% of 600 and then doing the math, 65% of 600 doing the math, 70% of 600 doing the math and all that, that is not required. So in this way, if you use little common sense and practice a lot, you can save a lot of time and stress also. You don't need to stress out. Alright, percentages is fun. Yeah. Arun, Avesh and Ajay are friends being looked after by a matron, Farah. Arun weighs 50% more than Avesh and Ajay weighs 20% less than Arun. Okay, so here Arun, Avesh and Ajay. Okay. Farah weighs a third of the combined weight of 3 boys. Okay, all 4 together weigh 245 kgs. The correct arrangement of persons in the ascending order of the weighters. See, ascending order means low to high. Okay. Okay, this one again, you should not write the answer in reverse order, not high to low. Okay, after solving everything, if you make a mistake there, it's gone. Okay, now so this fellow Arun is 50% heavier than this fellow Avesh. Alright, so if we are considering Avesh's weight to be 100%, Arun's weight would be 150%. Okay, and Ajay's weight is how much? 20% less than Arun. 20% less than Arun means Ajay weighs 80% of what Arun is weighing. So 80% of 150%. Now 1% and 2 zeros are gone and 15 eights are 120. So this fellow is 120% of some number. Okay. Farah weighs a third of the combined weight of these 3 boys. A third is 1/3. Okay. So 1/3 of 150 plus 100 plus 120. How much is it? It is 370. Okay, so 3 ones are, 3 twos are, 3 threes are, then 0.33. Okay, so it is 123.33%. Whose weight is this? This is Farah's weight. Okay, so all in percentages only I am taking, not in terms of absolute value. Actually, you don't need to calculate absolute value here. Though this is given, they are asking only ascending or descending order, right? So absolute values are not required. You just required percentages. Percentages of what? Percentages of some number. What is that some number? Here they've given relatively, right? Arun, Avesh and Ajay are friends being looked after by a matron Farah. Arun weighs 50% more than Avesh. So 100%, this Avesh weight is our benchmark. So the sum number is this one, Avesh weight. This fellow is a benchmark. So we are calculating everything with respect to this fellow's weight. So 100% is Avesh's weight. And this fellow Arun is weighing 150% of this fellow. And Ajay is weighing 80% of 150%. So you got my point, right? You don't need to calculate absolute values. Okay. So here, what would be the ascending order? It is Avesh is 100 and next is Ajay. Next it will be Arun. Okay. And next, yeah, these 3 fellows, this one. And where will Farah fit here? Farah is 123.33, no? So it is more than Ajay and less than Arun. So Farah will come here. Okay. So these 3 fellows, first I wrote the order and then fitting Farah. Where will Farah fit? It'll the weight is 123.33. So it will come here. Okay. So this is the answer D. Next. Anurag gets X plus 24% in an examination and fails by 24 marks, while Bharat scored this much and gets 32 marks more than the necessary for passing. Sagar got 62 marks and Kamal got 10 marks more than Bharat. Find the marks got by Kamal if Sagar just passed. Okay, see, this is important. Sagar just passed and Sagar got 62 marks. That means the marks needed for passing an examination or this particular examination, passing marks is 62. Pass marks is 62. This is the hint. Okay. Now, we will get to this question again. So, pass mark is 62. What are they asking? Find the marks got by Kamal. Okay, Kamal. Kamal got 10 more marks than Bharat, not percentage, 10 more marks than Bharat. Okay, so what did Bharat get? How many did Bharat get? Bharat scored X plus 38% and this fellow got 32 marks more than passing marks. So what is passing mark? 62, no? 62 plus 32, which means it is 94. This 94 directly substituted here. 10 plus 94, that is equal to 104 is the answer. So there is nothing to do with Anurag's marks. There is nothing to do with x plus 38 or x plus 24. Nothing to do. Just use common sense and you will get the answer. So what I am telling is, at the first instance, when you see a question, do not get scared. That is the moral. Candidates in a competitive examination consisted of 70% men and remaining were women. 60% of the men and 40% women cleared the qualifying test. Okay, so men and women. So 70% were men and so women will be 30%. Okay. Here, just observe if total number of men and women or candidates is given. It is not given. And the answers are also not in absolute numbers, which means you can assume the total number of candidates. Alright. So, let the total number of candidates be 100. Men will be 70. Okay, 70% of 100 and women will be 30. Okay, so just observe if there is any number given and in the answer if there are any absolute numbers. If that is not the case, then directly you can assume for simpler calculations. Okay, now 70 are men, 30 are women. So we will take out this percentage now. Yeah, and directly write absolute numbers. Okay. 60% men and 40% women cleared the qualifying test. Now, what is 60% of 70? It is 6 sevens are 42, because this percentage and this 0 will get cancelled. So, 42 men qualified the test and 40% of 30 is 12. 12 women also qualified and entered the final test. 80% men and 70% women were successful. Now, out of these members, 80% men were successful. Okay. Now, what is 80% of 42? 80 by 100 into 42, right? 2 4s are, 2 5s are, then 5 1s are, then 8.4, then 8.4 into 4 is how much? 4 4s are 16, 4 8s are 32, 33. So, 33.6. See, this is one way of calculation. The other way is, what is 80%? 80% in decimal, it means 0.8. Okay, so 0.8 into 42. Directly you will get 8 2s are 16, 8 4s are 32, 33.6. Okay, so this one I did because you all will be familiar with this method. But the other way of simpler calculation is this. You either convert 80% into decimal and multiply, or you can write it as fraction also. Again you will get this. Again you will have to, fraction is how much? 80% is 4 by 5, no? 4 by 5 into 42. Again you will cancel, again multiply. So there are three methods. Directly you will do, then convert into fraction, and the other one is decimal. Here decimal is the easiest way. Okay, so be familiar with this one also. Okay, okay. Now coming to women, how many fellows passed? What is 70% of 12? 70% of 12 is 7 12s are 84. 84, right? 84 and 84, and there will be 10 by 100, which means 8.4. Okay, so 8.4 and 33.6. See, since we have taken 100 as the base value or number of people, this 33.6 also translates to 33.6 percentage. 8.4 translates to 8.4 percentage. Alright. Now, success rate is higher for women. In this particular problem, it is not so, because see, 33.6 by 70, if you take the percentage, you will get approximately 48%. So, men are successful by 48%, and women, how much will you get? 8.4 by 30. It is approximately, if you take in percentage terms, it is 28. So, men are successful than women in this particular problem. So, this is gone. Overall success rate is below 50%. We'll add these two because 33.6 plus 8.4. It's 42, no? So, it is less than 50%. This is correct. Alright. Now, next. A student needs to score 50% marks to pass a test. Suppose he scores 40 marks and fails by 20 marks. Then what is the total marks for the test? So, this fellow is scoring 40 marks and is failing by 20 marks. Okay, if you add 20 to this, which means he'll be passing, right? Okay. Now he needs to score 50 marks to pass the test, which means this one is equal to 50% of the total marks. All right. So 60 marks is equal to 50%. Now total marks 100% will be how much? Double of this one. It is 120. This is it for today. Practice these methods consistently, revise them, and you will be very confident about CSAT paper. Always remember, 10 questions a day keeps your CSAT fear at bay. All the best.